Well, first, I would like to thank our friends in the African American Clergy, Christian Clergy Coalition, for hosting today's discussion, debate forum, whatever we're calling it, but discussion about the future of our city, particularly Pastor Stewart. When we are at First Institutional, we are in the house of the Lord, and I'm proud to be here. It's very appropriate that we're having this discussion here today. Pastor, I know your history. I know how important this community is to you, and we would not have that Martin Luther King holiday if it weren't for your leadership back in the day, and I have been proud for the last decade. I'm proud to have marched side by side with you for the last decade, every single MLK march. Even those rainy days, my friend, wasn't the most fun. Anyway, I really appreciate all you have done in this community. There's one other person I do want to recognize. There's so many friends and supporters here in the audience, but I would be remiss if I didn't recognize the highest ranking African American elected official in the state, the Honorable Sandra Kennedy. Thank you for being here. And thank you for endorsing my candidacy. And yes, I will be supportive of solar, young lady. Your advice is very helpful in that regard. Look, you know, I grew up in a church family. I went to St. Jerome's Church, 39th Avenue in Dunlap. My family was very active in our church. My mom and dad ran an organization called Christian Needs Network, in which people would deliver to the Stanton household food, clothing, diapers, shoes, and we'd make sure that farm workers in the West Valley had their needs taken care of. They understood. You know, they didn't make a big deal about it. We didn't talk a lot about theology. We talked about service. Give it back to the community. In the Stanton household, if there was a need in the community, you fill it. You don't make a big deal about it. A lot of people thought I was crazy to leave the full-time practice of law at one of these fancy law firms to enter public service, but not if you grew up in the Stanton household. It made perfect sense because it was my opportunity, my way of giving back to the city that has given me so much. And I really appreciate the 4 questions because it's really an outline of exactly the reason why I'm running for mayor. I put education, Pastor, I put education front and center in this race. Some of the other folks that sort of try to be critical of that, suggesting that Phoenix doesn't have that much influence over education, I might say just the opposite. Phoenix needs to wrap our arms around the public school and be the very best partners. We simply can't achieve our goals, any of our goals, our economic goals, our social goals, arts and culture, anything that we want to, we have to have a stronger public education system. The city is a part of that. That's why we don't just need to support our public schools in Phoenix, we need to fight for those schools. It's why I have made support for Head Start and early childhood education, making sure that we get our fair share of funding for that, which we currently don't. I put that front and center in my campaign. It's the reason why I've said with our after-school programs, we need to have a math and science curriculum that could really help improve kids' scores. I serve on the Rodale Education Foundation board. They have an incredibly successful after-school curriculum for kids in high-poverty areas. For math and science curriculum, those test scores on the Ames go up. We should take that citywide. Let's make that a priority. It's the reason why I've said let's make the tax credit, the education tax credit, front and center in this race. Make sure our Phoenix public schools get their fair share, and I put STEM education front and center. Light rail, I've said it in every single debate. We need light rail going south, down South Central. It's not only good for transportation, it's good for economic development, and I consider it a social justice issue. And yes, the Obama administration, if you watched his State of the Union, President Obama said he wants to make rail a higher priority. We need to make sure you have a leader in the mayor's office who's going to fight that we get our fair share of those future dollars so that we can put light rail down South Central. It's the right thing to do for the community. Access to the mayor's office. Pastor, when you got Art Hamilton as your campaign chair like I do, you better believe that the clergy and African American leadership is going to have access. Not only Art, but Calvin Good, of course, the Honorable Sandra Kennedy, and so many other leaders in this community. You better believe they're going to have access. And not only is it good for the community, but it makes you a better mayor because you understand, you have your ear to the ground, what's going on in the community. You can only serve the community if the people surrounding you really have your ear to the ground in the right way. So it's going to help me a lot when I am mayor. And economic development, reinvestment, I put on my economic development plan. Check it out at www.greg2011.com. A couple things. First, we need to make sure that our banks that we do banking with are more supportive of the community. It's been on my economic development plan from day one. We need to make sure that if we're giving subsidies for housing, that they have a set aside for affordable housing. Affordable housing is more of an issue now than ever in this community. There is so much more the city can do to be supportive of affordable housing. You know, I've been smart about economic developments. I was the lead council member on TGen, U of A Medical School, higher education. I support subsidies if you bring high-wage jobs to this community, density in our downtown, if you fulfill our sustainability goals, subsidies like City North, which is that parking garage up north. That's crazy. We shouldn't be giving away city dollars for that. We need to be smarter about that and make sure that those that we give those subsidies to are given back to our community. I'm committed to doing that. Thank you very much, and I look forward to the questions from the audience.